Hello, I'm your host, Kathy Chester, and welcome to the Move It or Lose It podcast, a podcast about all things that move the mind, body, and soul. The Move It or Lose It podcast is for information, awareness, and inspirational purposes only. I am not a doctor, and I don't even play one on TV. So please consult with your doctor before making any medical decisions. The views expressed by advertisers, guests, or contributors are their opinions and not necessarily the views of the Move It or Lose It podcast. Okay, I'm taking you backwards now. We're going way back.
All right.
So when you were diagnosed in 2015?
2001.
2001?
Yeah.
Dang,
no,
girl.
I started blogging in 2015.
In 2015. Okay, so you were diagnosed just a little bit before me. I mean, after me, sorry.
Yeah,
a little bit after me.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was diagnosed with rheumatoid first and then MS. So, so then you started blogging in 2015. So what were you doing after the diagnosis? What did they say? How long was it?
Yeah. It sucked. I mean,
It did? Really?
Sucked.
It wasn't the most exciting time.
Yeah, no, I was a baby in my early 20s. It was a railroading mindfuck that like just threw my life upside down, you know? But yeah, I don't know. I've said also before that MS gets harder, but that it also gets easier.
Yeah.
So
say what you mean by that.
Yeah, I mean, it was a catastrophe in my early 20s. Everything was a struggle and it was new, but and my body is so much more disabled now than it was 20 years ago, but I am coping with it better to an extent. So yeah, like I don't wish these life lessons on anyone. Like could you have some blessings that aren't in disguise. But you know, that's another surprise of my life is you do adapt, you do learn to handle your shit. And yeah.
Now, did anybody in your family have MS or just you? Were you the first?
First and like hopefully the only. Yeah.
And so did you already meet your husband at that point?
Yeah, we were dating. Okay. It was very like on again, off again. So, yeah, you know, it was a lot to process. And I think thoughtful people consider all possible outcomes. So, yeah, it was a few years before we were married after that. But, yeah, I did already know him.
Yeah. So that's good in a way, I feel like, because you went into it kind of together, kind of going over, probably neither one of you really knowing what to expect, but however, you both knew this is what it is. And so he got to kind of really look at this before he married you, not like having no clue what you had.
Yeah. You know, I think even still, we never really know what we're in for, you know, and I think it's like human nature to have this bias to expect, you know, that we're going to win the lottery, that we're going to have the best case scenario. And I think we don't really know. So of course he went into it knowing what could happen. And he's like a naturally nurturing and caring person in a way that I could never be. So
I'm with you.
Like, yeah,
he's a much better caregiver than I'll be.
Honestly, like I feel like if the roles were reversed, he would be a terrible MS patient and I would be a terrible caregiver, you know?
Right.
So I feel like whatever, we've got assigned the appropriate roles in life.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
No, he's amazing. But yeah, I mean, it's certainly, it's not easy. I don't wish this on him any more than I wish it on myself.
Agree.
Yeah.
And now you guys have been married for how long?
18 years.
Wow. Congratulations. That's really good. Yeah. That's great. Yeah. So now going through all of that you guys have been through. So, any kids?
No,
No.
no kids by choice. I never, like I just said, I'm like not nurturing, at all. You know what? I never wanted kids. I've always wanted a dog. So
Uh-huh.
that wasn't something that I felt MS took from me.
Yeah.
And I always want to stress for people that, I think sometimes friends, family, doctors can caution against having
Right.
kids. Like if I had wanted them, I would have figured out a way. I would have figured it out. So
Right.
I didn't.
Sure.
I
And I
wanted to
know
travel
even,
and have a dog.
yes. And even back then it was not, I remember I had three and I really wanted a fourth. I was obviously more nurture. I wanted kids. I wanted kids from the day I was born, I think. So I remember wanting a fourth. And back then they were not like really good advocates on like more children. They were very much like, no, you're done and no more kids. And so now they're much different. At least most of them are. And so, and I'm very grateful for that because I think so many of, women want to have them. And so they're not, told absolutely not anymore, which is thankfully very good.
Yeah,
So,
I was told by one doctor not to have kids. And I was young at the time. I think I was 26. And
wow.
yeah, and I wasn't as full of piss and vinegar as I am
Right.
now, So,
Yeah.
and I didn't like want kids anyway, but I still remember
Right.
feeling like I already, like, I was like, kind of, how dare you? But I didn't say it out loud. And I
Right.
kind of wish that
Right.
I had. So,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think that if we could go back. So one of the questions I had this week is, and I'm wondering what you would say, if you could go back to your younger self, diagnosed, what's the one thing that you wished you could change or say to yourself if you could go back?
yeah, I get asked this from time to
Oh,
time.
you
And I
do?
think, yeah, I
Sorry.
mean, I think about it from time to time, but it's like, I think, I don't know that even if I was like looking myself in the eye, and
Mhm.
saying like, listen, this is how it is. I don't know that you can know that without actually living through it and learning it on your own. But I guess I would say, you will adapt. So,
I like that.
yeah, like you'll find a way, you'll adapt. And I think that's not a message that is very popular.
Right.
When we are diagnosed, the message that we often hear is like, not everyone, blah blah blah. Like it's like hope for the best,
Right.
is the kind of main takeaway. And there's never
Right.
any goal at preparing us for when things
Yeah.
get difficult. And so I think like a message that newly diagnosed patients would benefit from is that, we hope that things don't get more difficult than is comfortable. But if they do, here's what we can do.
Yeah. I love that, Ardra, because I agree with you that I don't think that message is sent out enough. And I believe that then when something does change, I don't think there's the freedom for us to understand that we will grieve again and then
Well,
we'll adapt.
it's also like, what the hell? Like you told me it wasn't going to be this bad,
Right.
right? And you're just kind of sidelined all over
Exactly.
again, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I don't know, what DMT did you start on?
I started on Rebif.
Okay. So I started on Avonex. And so how many times have you changed?
Like all of the time, all
So
of them.
where are you on now? Where are you at with it now?
Ocrevus.
Yeah, that's what I'm on now.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's changed so often. And so I think that with each one, sometimes there's this naivety, there's this like idea that, okay, this is the one
Yeah.
forever, depending on what neurologist you have, what relationship you have with them, right?
This is one thing I didn't know in the beginning because I had no frame of reference. So my first 2 years of MS were extremely aggressive.
Uh-huh.
And I was having attacks on Rebif. But I thought, like, because, the message was these drugs reduce attacks by 1/3, right?
Right.
So I thought if I come off this drug, I'm going to have more attacks. Right. I
Right.
just thought like it's obviously working because, it was like, I didn't understand that. And if I think, but also it wasn't up to me because I'm not the doctor. I think now, we wouldn't keep somebody on Rebif for that long. And
Right.
I think probably, hopefully doctors aren't really starting a patient on interferon when there are so many better,
Right.
more effective
Yeah.
medications. But
Oh, I think you'd
one
be
thing I would
shocked by how
say is
many.
like, yeah, well, I think the one thing I would say is like, if you are on a therapy and you have one attack, like switch treatments.
Yes.
That's my, yeah.
Amen. I mean, even I had Dr. Bieber on a few months ago, and he had said that that is a big sign. If you're on a
Yeah,
medication and you
it's
have
not
a
working.
relapse, that's boom. And I'm always so shocked with that when I have, patients on, where I'm training, they're like, yeah, I had an attack. And I'm like, and you told your doctor, and they were like, let's keep going. And I'm just like, yeah.
Wait
So
and see is sucks because like you can't undo an
right.
attack. You're not, yeah.
Exactly. Once that happens, it's there. So it is very terrifying with all of that. So one of the things that you and I talked about is our great ability we have to balance things. So tell our listeners some of the struggles and maybe some, if we wish we were better at balancing. So first, let's go into this. Struggling, I think, with balance when we are entrepreneurs, when we are trying to do our best with this new world of MS, and we're trying to work and we're trying to get things done and spreading awareness and doing all the ideas that I think you and I are kind of wired the same in that there's so many projects we want to accomplish.
Yeah. I mean, I
Where is
sometimes
that?
say I'm like a type A personality trapped in a passive aggressive body.
I like that.
Yeah. So I think part of it is, loving what you do and having yeah, I don't know. I am the worst person to ask about how to achieve any sort of balance because I do tend to overdo it, and I
Yeah.
just like, I feel like overdo it on your own terms, right? Like if you're
Yeah.
going to overdo it, make sure it's something that's worth it to
Right.
you because you can be filled up, um like emotionally,
Yeah.
spiritually, intellectually by things that might burn you out a little bit physically. And yeah, I mean, I am not advocating for anyone to not listen to their bodies and to like, you have to rest. But I
Right.
think for me, prioritizing like time with friends and loved ones,
Yeah.
prioritizing like creative work that helps me feel filled up, time with the dog.
Yes.
Like these are things that you do kind of have to be intentional about.
Yeah.
I also recognize it's easy for me to say, like the dishes can wait, or I'm not using any of my energy on laundry when I don't have
Right.
kids to feed and look after. So,
Yeah. Well, my kids are older now, so I'm like, yeah, that none of that has to be done anymore. But
good.
I definitely see the dishes pile up, and I'm like, yeah, I don't have time for that right now. That's just gonna have to wait. So
Yeah.
I'm with you in the sense that I think we're both the same in that get the creative things that make you feel good done. And maybe tomorrow I may not have that much energy and I may need to rest a little bit more, but
Yeah.
I
I
want to
think
get
it's
this
like
stuff.
ditch the guilt, right? Because
Yes.
I think it's like you're gonna have to rest or you're gonna have to bail on something or whatever. You don't need to compound the shittiness of that by feeling bad
Right.
about it. Just stop feeling
Right.
bad about it.
Absolutely.
You got a raw deal, take a
Right.
nap.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I love it. So a couple of things I know I'm all over the place with you because I'll think of
Love it.
something like, oh, this cognitive MS, right? Woo, it's a thing. So one of the things I love is how open you are about AFOs and all the things that you use. And I love that one of the things I caught that you said that I loved is I think people get married to that one AFO and they think this is my one, I can only use this. And I'm like, but there's so many. And you don't have to just use this. Sometimes I just need to grab a cane. Sometimes I need my trekking poles. And, you know, I'm not at that place that I need to have a roller or anything like that, but I want to be able to give my clients that are traveling or something like, hey, and often I'll send them to your website and say, go look, this is what Tripping On, you know, we all know each other by our handles. I'm like, Tripping On Air, you know, her, go look at what she has. It's a really good one. So explain what you mean in a better way that I can, because you already have.
Well, I think this is like one of the things where there's no like standard resource for
Right.
people with MS, and we just have to figure it out on our own. But one thing I didn't understand in the early days, it was like, I thought if you needed a mobility aid like a wheelchair, that meant you were a full-time mobility aid user. And so it was a bit of a revelation to me to learn that actually many wheelchair users, MS or otherwise, do have some ability to ambulate, you know,
Right.
and that a wheelchair can be used to manage fatigue. It doesn't necessarily mean that you can't walk. And this idea of different aids for different days, you know,
Yes.
which because MS is so variable. So you may
Absolutely.
benefit from like trekking poles, like you said, or an AFO or whatever. It's educating yourself, because you have to, about what's out there. And then the other barrier, I think, is the stigma around it. And yeah, I think a lot of us can be championed inappropriately by people around us to resist using mobility aids. It's seen as like giving up or giving in, and like try not to buy into that, because you'll be able to spend more time it's like you fall and break your elbow or wrist, or I've done it, you know, and like you're a lot, like you're out of commission when just like the mobility aid that you could have been using would have helped that. But these are also lessons. I wasn't born knowing this stuff. It took breaking bones, you know, sometimes to learn this stuff. Or like crying on a park bench in Paris because I was like trying to power through and totally run out of energy and just couldn't do it.
Yeah. No, I think that that's so important for our newly diagnosed, because I think that you're right. We think that a chair, that means we're always in it. And there are times that the airport or it's too big, and I think I'm never going to make it walking this far. Or temperature wise, I want to walk the dog, and it's like, I might get, you know, a couple blocks in, and then all of a sudden my drop foot's going to kick in and I'm going to be in trouble. And so I think it's so important that we get that we may need one for one day and something else or nothing that day. But understanding that as the disease changes in our body, as we age, as we have a bad day or a good day, we may need to have different things, and it's okay. It is okay.
It's hard.
It is. How many times did you hide the handicap sticker?
I never hid the sticker.
I threw mine out.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I never
have
hid
it
the
now.
sticker. But when I first started using mobility aids, like the first cane that I started using was traveling, because we travel a lot. And, you know, you do more when you're walking more, when you're traveling. And I would hide my cane in photos. And that's I know a lot of people do it. It's a gross feeling to feel like you have to hide that. Like, it's just, I don't know.
I've done that.
It's just like heartbreaking that we can feel that like less than and unattractive and just so many negative things about it. And so I think it takes a real culture change. It's not our fault, right? Like, we have been conditioned to feel this way about disability and mobility aids. It's not our fault, but we do need a significant cultural shift to just start seeing these things as eyeglasses, tools that just help us do what we need to do. And so like, that's kind of like what I want fashion to do. You know, it's like what I want my social media to do. Yeah.
I think it's so important and it's so crucial for them. I definitely have mine out now so that they can see. And I used to do the same thing. I used to put it behind me somewhere
Yeah.
people couldn't see. And if I need it that day, I don't do that anymore. And it's something that I want. Even with the gym, I would hide it more. And now I have it out so they can see. And I don't want anyone to know that I don't have it, because if anything, I think it's more respect that we are able to do what we can do with all this crap. So I think if we see it like that,
I love that, Kathy. And I also feel like when you make yourself visible, you are also helping somebody else feel visible and seen. If
right,
I decide that I am less attractive or less cool or less whatever because I have a mobility aid and I hide those things in photos, then I'm saying that that's not just true for me, that it's true for other people.
right,
And like, I would never want anyone to feel that way. And so, in the early days of my social media posting, like hashtag babes with mobility aids, there were times when I like was like, fake it till you make it. Like, I might not feel like a babe, but I'm going to like assert that I am until I do feel like it,
right,
because like I didn't at first, I brought that
right,
first walker home and I cried and I just like, I felt disgusting about it. And
right,
I think that's a legitimate feeling. You don't have to jump from like fully ambulatory person to like embracing mobility
right,
aids. I do think there is a grief that
for
needs to be
sure.
processed, but I am hoping that that window can be narrowed so that
Yeah,
you can get to the thing that's going to help you faster and not feel shitty about it, so that
yeah,
you can, keep living your life and,
for sure, for sure. I always have this vision of like a bunch of us with our AFOs and our things that we need, and just saying, this is badass, and just having it out there so that they can see all of us and all of the newly diagnosed, and people can see it and say, oh, I know her, I know her, I know him. And just saying, oh, they are not afraid of this.
but
And
it's
so that
happening. It's
is, I
happening. Like,
know
there was
it
none of
is.
that 5 years ago, even maybe
No.
4 years ago, but now it's happening now.
So my vision is just a big photo of us and just having like a bunch of us on it and just showing like, it is happening. And so I just love the patients' rising voices coming out more and more, like we talked about before with COVID and all of that. So
Yeah.
I am so excited to see the first fashion disc is May, what'd you say?
May 3rd.
May 3rd. Okay. I was like, I know
Yeah.
it's right now. So
I know.
excited. So get ready for it. And I can't wait. I can't wait to collaborate and talk to you later at the end of this new season and talk about how you felt with this one and watch and see the faces. I'm excited to see this woman that's coming on. I cannot wait to see her face and what you do with her and how awesome this will be. So Audrey, I can't tell you how I'm just so grateful to have you on. I love you. I love your spirit. I love your badass. Just keep going forward. You just have such a sparkle, and so many are drawn to you. And it's just, it's a delight to watch you push forward through this. It really is. And I know that it's the first time that you and I have been able, well, besides Kathy Reagan's thing that we did together, but just to do a one-on-one with you. And it's really a delight. You really are a very special person.
Stop it. But thank you also. It's like, it's lovely to be here chatting with you. And I feel like all of anything I do, I've said this before too, it just feels really selfish because, no, I mean, I feel like, anyone that can say, oh my God, I feel like that too. Like, that's so healing for
Oh
me.
yeah,
It's like, we all need that kind of consolation. So,
for sure.
yeah, I don't think that I necessarily know any more than anyone else, but it's just that connecting with like, yes, I feel like that
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, for sure. Well, guys, go ahead and stand for a second. I hope that you enjoyed this two-part interview with Ardra Shephard. And I know that you guys love her. And if you don't know her, well, take a look at her new series for the second time picked up, and make sure that you watch this podcast. So, in her podcast. So enjoy this two-part series. Talk to you guys later. Thank you again, Ardra Shephard, for being on here with me, and I will talk to you soon. Bye, guys. Have a great rest of your day. Well, thank you so much for joining us today on Move It or Lose It podcast, where you can again find us wherever you like your podcast, whether it's Apple, Spotify, Stitcher. Join us on that. And we can't wait to see you again. We're going to have a lot of exciting guests and working together. And as always, you'll hear us say at the end of every podcast, we are stronger together. So let's do it. Let's become stronger together. Have a great day.